All right, from one theft to the other. We're moving now to the conversation that has been front burner for the past few days, and it's got to do with manhole cover theft, and basically the theft of critical infrastructure in the nation's capital. After we brought you that story, there were raids on that particular metal market, popularly known as the Pan-Taker market, and we'll be having a conversation with the NSCDC, at least the Commandant of the NSCDC in Abuja shortly, but we'll be bringing you that conversation in a bit, so please stay with us.
Space. Right behind me, we have 5 of them who were arrested, with their 2 vehicles, one Toyota Corolla and the other one Toyota Carina. The ideal idea was to cut away the manhole covers and whatever they have been able to, to vandalize and steal. Luckily enough for us, we're able to, arrest them. You can see the cables, lots of cables, that's, it is effort of government to provide infrastructure, and they're there destroying it. So we got them. We got the about 4 manhole covers recovered from them as well, and the 2 vehicles, which was on standby. Don't forget, they have to find a way of cutting away their, their loot as well. So God helped us. We're able to arrest them with the loot as well as their vehicles, and we are going to prosecute them. They are currently being investigated, and we're trying to see how we can, unveil their network. The other 2 were arrested around the presidential villa, destroying the slab reinforcement iron. These are slabs that are used to cover the drainage systems. From the value of armored cable, armored cable is not something that is cheap, and look at the length, the whole length we have here. So it's still a devastation to the efforts of government in making life easy for the people. So, but I know they are definitely going to be in millions, especially for the cables.
The FCT Commandant of the NSCDC, the Nigeria Security Defense Corps, is joining us via Zoom. Mr. Shola Odumusu, thank you so much for being with us on the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So the raids, I want to start from there because this is an old story. We've talked about it so many times, about the theft of critical infrastructure and the job that NSCDC has to do. Yes, there are so many issues, and you can't be everywhere at the same time. At least that's something I've heard from your office. But you do your best. We see all the parading of suspects. We see the parading of things that have been stolen. And then the raid on that metal market that everyone calls the Pan-Taker market, or the different Pan-Taker markets in the nation's capital. But this is not the first time that we've had raids on those places. And this is not the first time that we're recovering things from these people who sell off infrastructure that has been stolen, our commonwealth that is being stolen. But what happens afterwards? I want you to be able to give us an idea of the status of these metal markets in the nation's capital and where we are now. How can we stop this from now on? How can this end? Well, I think we're having a bit of a network connection there with Mr. Shola Odumusu, but just so we can give you a background. Okay, are you back? Can you hear us, sir?
Can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, did you hear the question, sir?
Yeah. So what's the status of the Pan-Taker market? Mm-hmm. All right, thank you very much. It is quite unfortunate that in this age and time, 2025, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Yeah, that Nigerians can still be this crude and there's this wicked, to government efforts to providing critical national assets and infrastructure for life to be easy and meaningful. But of course, we on the field, we are able to identify certain factors that have been responsible for vandalism of this infrastructure in the FCT particularly. Chief of which is the issue of Babambola, popularly known as they are the scavengers. You know, they have become a menace, you know, to the Federal Capital Territory. And of course, there are regulations to ensure that we take them off the street. And that is why you have seen most of the arrests we have made. You know, majority of those we have arrested who are suspected vandals happen to be the scavengers. Those you see around, you see them under the bridges, you know, pretending to be homeless and destitute. And we've conducted raids, you know, most of these places and hideouts. But unfortunately, you keep seeing them, you know, back into the street over and over again. And like I said, and I've reiterated, that the easiest way for us to ensure that we nip vandalism in the bud is to regulate the partaker market. Partaker market, some people may be wondering what that is, but it is a metal and scrap market where all sorts of items find their way into. This provides ready source of income for these boys. And of course, without regulating the partaker market, it will be a continuous exercise. We'll just continue to arrest them and without solving the real problem. The partaker market accepts all sorts of goods, stolen, vandalized, and all sorts. In fact, stolen vehicles are even butchered inside the partaker market, and they sell their parts to those iron melting companies. This is very, very sad. That is not to say that we don't have the good people amongst them that deal in legitimate goods like household items that are no more in use. But you see the overall criminality of those elements who have turned, the market around. It's what we need to beam searchlight into. And by the time we are able to regulate this market, we'll be able to sanitize it and control the items that can go into the market. Fortunately, when we had the last security meeting, I was privileged to inform His Excellency, the Honorable Minister of FCT, His Excellency Isom Wike, about this menace and how it has affected, our fight against vandalism. And good enough, he was able to understand, the angle I was coming from, and in that wise, he gave his nod that myself and the Commissioner of Police should work together and see how we can sanitize the market. And that is ongoing as I speak to you. And if we're able to achieve that, I can bet you that the incidence of vandalism will reduce to the barest minimum in the FCT.
Mr. Elemo, I can just imagine how difficult, it must be to do the things that you need to do. I beg your pardon, Mr. Dumosu. I really do, understand that. But, I'm just wondering, because there's this vexed story that we've been nursing for a while, and that's the CCTV camera project, which conversation started about 15 years ago. Now, of course, I don't know how far with that one, but do you think that would have helped if we had CCTV cameras all over the place? Do you think it would have insulated us from these kinds of vandalism?
Absolutely, Ion, absolutely. If you go check around the world, most advanced countries of the world, they are able to have real-time information on incidents of crime. And, that is possible because of, the presence of CCTV cameras, which, in fact, as you come into the country, you are being monitored. So there is no hiding place for you. So if we're able to introduce that into our system, I think it will go a long way in helping us. Like I always say, like, these vandals too, they also try as much as possible, because in as much as they know that security agencies, security operatives are on their trail, they are also
Okay, I thought maybe we lost you there, Mr. Dumosu. Okay. Well, because are you back, Mr. Dumosu? All right. So if there is, I'm hoping that you can hear me at some point. This perhaps...
I'm hearing you. I can hear you.
Okay, great. Your response underscores the fact that perhaps there is a need for us to inject some technology into policing national infrastructure, particularly in Abuja and in various other parts of the country, because we also know that these things happen in other parts of the country. We mentioned Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Kano yesterday when we highlighted this issue. So in the conversations that you're having with the authorities, to what extent are we talking about technology in helping out with these functions that you have to perform, whether in Abuja or I'm pretty sure that you sit in meetings where other parts of the country are discussed?
Like I was saying earlier, the Honorable Minister of FCT, His Excellency Yesam Wike, is a man who has an understanding of security architecture, especially of the FCT. And then there is an ongoing conversation, in trying to, upgrade, the status of FCT security. So it's an ongoing discussion. We have held meetings. We have identified areas where there needs to be injection of some form of new strategies, and I'm sure with time, it's just one of the challenges. I've heard him talk about is that the issue of CCTV camera it falls within the domain of national security. So I know, of course, if it is something within the immediate purview of the Honorable Minister, it's something he would have done, because within the little period that he has been in the saddle of leadership of the FCT, you've seen the transformation he has done. You have seen the urban renewal and, of course, the network of roads and the rest of them. So the only way we can actually protect this and make this, things work for us is to ensure that those things are put in place. But he's working in that direction and is speaking with the authority to ensure that security is improved in the FCT. So I'm sure it is a matter of time, because right now I think we have no other choice than to look in that direction, so that we can have real-time information about all of this. And, there are so many technology we can put in place in such a way that even this infrastructure, when they are being vandalized, when they are being tampered with, it triggers, some form of alarm, at the situation, room where we control all of this. So it's very, very important.
And so, Dumosu, you mentioned a very critical point in the beginning of this conversation, which is the scavengers. We call them Babambola here in Abuja. And it's a very interesting dynamic, because I've heard what you're doing in the other areas when it comes to the Panteka market, when it comes to the security and CCTV bit and the plans, to ensure that the FCT is properly run and visible. We can see what's going on. But when it comes to these scavengers, people, our hands are tied, really, aren't we? Because you see, they're there every morning, very early in the morning. They come and they ruffle through your bin. The bin that is in front of your gate, they come and they ruffle through it and they pick up scraps and whatever. And many of them carry weapons with them. A few times people have tried to stop them. Or, no, you're not supposed to be, or say scavenging is against the law in the FCT. They carry weapons, they will stab you. At least I know 2 people who have been stabbed by these scavengers. What can be done about scavenging in the FCT?
All right. I said it earlier that it's a serious problem, and in almost nook and crannies we see this issue of scavenging, it's a serious problem that we have to address. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So efforts are ongoing, and I'm happy you are able to see the arrests we're making. We're intensifying efforts to make sure that we rid FCT of the scavengers, and that is why in our strategy, what we do is that we move out. Apart from the patrol during the day, at night my boys move out from the hours of 12 a.m. and 2 a.m. That's the period you see them under the bridges, hibernating there, because most times they hide under the cover of darkness when the street is deserted to do these nefarious activities. And some of them to very early hours, like 5 a.m., 5:30, that's when they come out. So that is what we are doing right now. By 12 to 2, we raid all under the bridges in the FCT. Anyone we find there, we pick them up and make sure that they don't return. But the problem we're having is that, you see, there is need for us to also encourage government to introduce stiffer penalty for these offenders, because I tell you for free, there are lots of these boys that we have arrested over and over again. And guess what? The problem is not far-fetched. It is because of the penalty, the sanctions they get. I tell you that when we prosecute, I know usually the penalties given from the magistrate court most times is usually that cannot be a deterrent to anyone in their community. Imagine somebody who has been arrested for vandalism of that magnitude getting convicted to do community service, to go and sweep Wuse Market. And at the end of the day, they are left off the hook. Sometimes you get as fine as low as 2,000, 5,000. These are very, very affordable amounts of money. And so it's a serious problem, and that is why we keep recycling these boys, because we should introduce stiffer penalty that will keep them away for good or for a very long time. But you arrest somebody in January, by the end of the month of January, you're arresting the same person again because he has been left off the hook. So there's need for stiffer penalty. Government needs to look into that direction. Introduce more measures, because that will also help. Because when you know that once I'm arrested, I'm only going to pay 2,000 naira, or I'm only going to what is it called, sweep the market, or go to places to sweep the community, then it's not a deterrent. So it is a way of encouraging them. So let's introduce penalties that will keep them away for at least a very, very long time. And this, I'm sure it will discourage them.
I mean, that's very telling, and I think a dimension to this conversation that we really haven't heard much from, because we do see the arrests, and if someone is stealing manhole covers that people are falling into, cars, people are having accidents. We had a terrible accident over the Yuletide because the car fell into that manhole cover with his family. It was a terrible accident, and it's all over the place. And the punishment is to go and sweep. To go and sweep the market. They charge you 2,500. I remember one time we went to one of the courts where these boys were being tried, and they had somebody standing in front who was distributing the money, for the bail, for the guys to be...
As easy as that. So we need to review the penalty.
How can that be done? How do we review the penalties? Is it a change in the FCT law? How is that supposed to be done? Do you know?
I'm sure the authority concerned are watching as we speak. How is this to advise governments on how to move the country forward? And the government, they know what to do. If we have to move on and make sure that this problem is solved continuously.
I want to thank you so much.
It has to do with the judiciary, and that is not within my...
I think that's the next. That's where we should take the conversation next. We're moving in that direction, so we actually get something done about it. But I want to thank you so much, Mr. Shola Odumusu, for being with us on Sunrise Daily, and we'll talk to you soon, I hope.
All right, thank you very much. Ayo, thank you so much for having me too.